Hello and welcome to Movies, Films, and Flicks. I am Mark Hoffmeyer, and joining me is a man that just got done watching The Island of Dr. Calamari. It's Niall Moore.
I was actually watching Paddington 2. It's a masterpiece.
You know, can I tell you something? And I've said this many times, and you've heard this, but Paddington 2 has many similarities with Ernest Goes to Jail. I just want to put that out there. I don't know if you've ever seen it. I don't know if you've ever seen Ernest Goes to Jail.
I don't think I've seen Ernest Goes to Jail, but I have seen at least parts of Paddington 2. I didn't actually get to finish it.
Oh, got it. It's lovely.
I was watching it today. After I'd rewatched The Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I was like, I need to see what the fuss about Paddington 2 is all about.
And listen, the fuss is real. The hype is real.
It's good.
And listen, movies definitely borrow from each other, but there's about 20 similarities between Paddington 2 and Ernest Goes to Jail. Maybe I'll just unleash an episode where I just sound like I have a tinfoil hat theory on my head and put that out into the ether. I wrote a post about it. But yeah, so Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I was going to either start with you watch The Island of Dr. Calamari or that you smooch good.
Interesting.
Niall Moore smooches good.
I would have to ask my wife.
Nick Cage
I guess she's
smooches
still with
good.
Me after all these years. I guess I must smooch pretty good.
I love that line in the movie, though. Nick Cage smooches good. It's just...
There's so many, classic sound bites. It's just, it's wall to wall.
Yeah, it really is. And, I was thinking about this movie, and I kind of was like, I could just read the quotes from this movie that I love. Who is this Javi guy? I am Javi. And then he slams his, puts his hands, his fists, and bows. And just, there's a deleted scene that I love, and I kind of know why it's not there. But when they're like, what's the password for your Wi-Fi? And he goes, NATIONALTREASURE 2, Book of Secrets. And that was his Wi-Fi password, National Treasure 2, Book of Secrets. And this is like an airplane episode where you're just talking about and then. But I gotta say, what I love about this movie is they started shooting this in October 2020 during the peak of unvaccinated COVID. The director got COVID. He was directing from an iPad. He never got to meet Neil Patrick Harris. They were shooting this in Budapest and outside of Dubrovnik.
It was in Dubrovnik.
Yeah, we both know that. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I could see I went on a boat trip when I was there, and I could see one of the islands I went on the tour to from the swimming pool. I was like, I swear that's that island that I went to.
Yeah.
That's cool. And
just what a beautiful filming location just to be at. And they started shooting this in October 2020, and this is before Pig. This is before Willy's Wonderland was genuinely well received. I mean, Nick Cage was getting legitimate Oscar buzz with Pig. People are saying he should get. I'm part of the Georgia Film Critics Association. We gave him Best Actor. So they started filming this before he sort of had his Cage-a-sons, which is pretty cool. That means that they're diehard fans. And I think my favorite line in this movie, Niall, is when he just says, I never went anywhere. I was never gone. People are like, oh, he's back. But I don't know.
We never left.
No, 2010 Kick-Ass, dude. And then he had Joe. He had Mandy, which is unbelievable. He had the Croods movies, Croods 2. I was starting that with Emma Stone. He has not been gone. Sure, he's been churning out some.
He was Spider-Man Noir.
Exactly.
The Spider-Verse. That was pretty awesome.
Listen, man, I had to watch every single Nick Cage movie to see if he wore a sleeveless shirt, and I can attest that he's made some dreck. For sure. He's made some dreck. But he hasn't been gone. All these people are saying he's making a comeback. I'm like, Mandy, Joe, The Color Out of Space. This dude's been churning out some really interesting work in the last few years. So I loved hearing that line in the movie. I think I just got really happy and maybe picked up my wife and ran around the house with her. But yeah, this is a movie for film fans and Cage fans,
Yeah, it's got, for just general film fans, the whole meta element and the whole meta experience of it being Nick Cage is, and him being the satirized version of himself, that's layer one. But then, if you dig a little bit deeper and, you're familiar with Nick Cage's works, you could just pause on, the scene where they enter the vault of, Nicolas Cage.
Yeah.
And just be like, oh, what's that? And what's that? And what's that from?
So lovely. And just the references to Gone in 60 Seconds, the references to National Treasure. You're faster than I am. Well, according to the behind the scenes footage of National Treasure, you can run faster than me, even though he has no ankle support. I think my favorite moment in this movie is, spoilers, when Javi and Nick Cage swap shoes. They swap the Vans for the Gucci shoes. And like, I don't really like them. And they're like, well, they look great on you. You want to swap? And then he starts complaining about his ankle support later on, Nick Cage. But the two of them just, that's my favorite scene. And also that scene, they're supposed to like kill each other. And there's also a deleted scene where the two of them just start talking about apples because they don't want to get out of the car. And they're like, well, I like Honeycrisp and I like Gala and I like, Red Delicious. And,
well, the thing is, then that gets a little callback later. So when they're in the car chase, Nick Cage is like, Javi's got apples. Would you like an X apple or a Y apple?
Oh yeah, I love that they just man, this is so good. This is such a fun, breezy movie, but it's about 4 movies though. It's a family drama. It's like a Being John Malkovich-esque meta film. It's an action film. It's a buddy comedy. It's a redemption tale. There's a lot of films in this, but it works.
Yeah, it does. And it's very, the fun thing is, when you've got like Harvey and Nick like talking about their script and being like, I think we need a kidnapping plot. It's like, that doesn't work in this movie. We're not doing that.
Then there's a kidnapping plot.
It just kind of gets shoehorned in anyway.
And then you put Nick Cage in makeup and call him Sergio.
Why not? And dress him in like a Napoli tracksuit.
And Barbara from Santa Barbara.
Which, if he's supposed to be Sicilian, I don't know if he'd be wearing a Napoli shirt, but...
I guess he's been in hiding. Well, hasn't he been hiding outside of Naples? That's what they said?
Maybe.
So maybe he's been turned. Maybe that was a good call.
Maybe.
Just his strut. I thought that was Michael Smiley for a second. When he walked in there, I'm like, did they turn Nick Cage into Michael Smiley? But it was makeup. I don't know if you know who Michael Smiley is, but look up his picture.
I don't think I do.
Yeah, pull up his picture after this, and you'll know what I mean. But you know what I like about this movie is I feel like it was just meant to give the audience joy. Like it was just meant for fans to smile and watch Nick Cage, if that makes sense. Like it was never going to be a blockbuster. It was never going to be anything more than niche. But then they get paid.
It's an adult drama about relationships. It's not a blockbuster. It's not about a movie star. It's about relationships, adults.
Maybe the gun barrel's warped. The gun barrel is not warped. Oh man! And then just bringing in like Tiffany Haddish and just the CIA angle, and then. I like that his spy attempt is totally botched where he wipes his forehead. Like Nick Cage is I like how Nick Cage is he's very secure with himself because like there's a scene where he goes, oh yeah, Captain Corelli's Mandolin, underrated movie. And when he's talking about the Croods, he's like, I was in that with Emma Stone. And whenever people talk to him or give him adoration, he just loves it. You can tell that he just loves the attention. So Cage is on screen making himself look bad. It's such a, he didn't really want this movie, but then eventually he learned they weren't making fun of him. Yeah. I would too, right? Ages. Like, wouldn't you want to too?
And then he wants to play Harvey.
That's such a Nick Cage move, isn't it?
Yeah, wait. For sure. But I don't know if he wanted to play himself as well and play Harvey. I think he just wanted to play Harvey.
Whoa, so he would play a guy that's a fan of Nick Cage movies?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh my gosh. But listen, I don't think enough people talk about Pedro Pascal in this movie.
He's amazing. He is so funny.
So fun. Like that scene by the pool where he goes, what? Huh? Like, what? And then they sort of look and his laughing at those two older gentlemen during that scene. He's pitch perfect in this movie. And you know what's kind of crazy? Like they got Pedro Pascal. He's a big name. Like in this time, he was Kingsman 2. He was Wonder Woman 2. Like big name. And he just
like
sort of
come off Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
He'd done it was probably pre-Mandalorian, or it might have been after season 1 of Mandalorian. I guess that was 2019.
Dude's blowing up, and he just also look where they filmed, dude. Like it's not bad filming in Dubrovnik. during COVID. Like, there's worse places
It's
to
a
be during COVID.
fairly easy sell. It'd be like, do you want to come to the Adriatic coast or to the Mediterranean coast for 5 weeks? Like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's pretty nice. And it's a beautiful city, too. So, I mean, and he also filmed some of the scenes of Game of Thrones, so he's familiar with it. But I think
Yeah.
listen, Cage should get the credit for setting up his persona, having fun. But I think without another very strong actor next to him, this probably wouldn't have worked so well. And I think
No,
Pedro
you
really
need
brings it.
you need the believable foil. Like, I believe in their bromance. It really comes across on screen that they genuinely liked each other,
Yeah.
rather than it seeming there's definitely that kind of connection and that chemistry.
He was like just, and I guess on set, Pedro was a huge Nick Cage fan. And what I love about Pedro is when he started talking about Nick and the movies that he's done, he started talking about Valley Girl, Raised in Arizona, Birdie. Like, he started talking about Cage's 80s roles. Like, he didn't even, like, I guess he grew up watching him in the 80s. What's the Coppola one that's really good? The Outsiders sequel that came out. I watched the Cotton Club now, but he also talked about a Rumblefish. Like, so he talked about Rumblefish. He talked about Racing with the Moon, which is like an interesting flick. Birdie. Like, Nick Cage turned out some interesting work in the 80s. And so it's cool that.
And it's early, and in the 90s as well. I think
gosh, yeah.
80s and 90s, he was doing some cracking work.
What was your introduction to Cage?
Probably Con Air
Con Air.
or The Rock, I think. One of those. That kind of whole period where he had, like, Con Air, The Rock, and Face Off, like those three, the trinity of Nick Cage movies.
Gosh, what a 2 years, huh?
Yeah, it was just, all of a sudden this guy was like the biggest star. Like, I obviously wasn't aware that, he was an Oscar winner at the time. Like, he'd already won, I think, for Raising Arizona before
or Leaving Las Vegas.
Or Leaving Las Vegas even, yeah. But I was like, oh, this guy is awesome. Like, he's a big hero, but he's not like an Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of style hero. He bleeds.
Yeah. That's what was great about the 90s, wasn't it? We got, like, 90, we got Keanu and Patrick Swayze in Point Break. I mean, I guess 88 we got McClane. But then we kind of shifted into the Keanu phase, the Christian Slater phase, and then eventually we moved into Nick Cage as the biggest action star on the planet, which makes me, either in the Beige Volvo trilogy or the Prison trilogy. That's what I call those movies right there. But I think for me, my introduction was, I was watching his movies pretty early on, so I think I probably started around like Guarding Test time. So I saw Guarding Test, I saw It Could Happen to You, Trapped in Paradise, Kiss of Death, and Leaving Las Vegas before The Rock.
I quite like It Could Happen to You. It's a good feel-good movie.
Yeah, it's a good rom-com. He was churning out the rom-coms there. He did It Could Happen to You. He did Honeymoon in Vegas. Like, he had Valley Girl. He had some good Peggy Sue Got Married.
Like, City of Angels a little bit later.
Oh gosh, yeah. The good Goo Goo Doll song. But
that was played everywhere.
Oh man, everywhere. And it made it overseas for y'all out there?
Oh yeah. I think it was in the charts in Ireland for like 50 weeks or something, like ridiculous.
When I was over in Ireland, I learned that sort of that country music was really popular out there. Like, Garth Brooks had a 5-night concert.
He still sells out Croke Park in Dublin. Like, Garth Brooks comes to town and just like sells the place out. It's crazy.
Is it kind of like the blue collar vibe, like the ballad vibe?
It's there's a lot to it. That there's basically traditional Irish folk museum, music. So there's a lot of parallels between the kind of style of music where you've got this kind of folk kind of storytelling style of music. And then this is kind of like an extension. It's like, okay, this is foreign, but kind of familiar. You've just got a guy kind of crooning at you, singing about rural life.
Ah, like I Got Friends in Low Places.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, because he was supposed to do a 5-night concert there, and they had sold 300,000 tickets. But apparently the council around it, he only was supposed to be there for 3 nights, and he said 5. And then he said, I'll do 5 or nothing. And then they said nothing. So they had to refund. This is like 2014 maybe, about 300,000 tickets for.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, that would be Croke Park. That holds like 80-something thousand
Yes.
people.
Wow. Can you imagine refunding 300,000 tickets?
It's crazy.
Oh gosh. I know we got off track there. But when I first started watching Nick Cage, like when he became an action hero, like I thought The Rock was cool, but Con Air, you've probably heard this many times, but Con Air blew my mind. Because I'm like, here's this guy that I knew from guarding Tess, and now he's jacked. Like, I'm like, what just, like, he went through a pretty crazy transformation. He went from sort of character actor to action star, and I love it. But I think what killed him was, like, he became probably, like, one of the biggest stars on the planet. He won an Oscar, then he followed that up with Rock, Con Air, Face Off, City of Angels, and then I think he kind of, he had a low period there with what, like, I mean, he did
Snake Eyes.
Snake Eyes, 8mm, Bringing Out the Dead, which is good. But then he kind of
And Gone in 60 Seconds was all right.
Yeah, it was all right. That was a big hit. But then he kind of had like Captain Corelli's Mandolin, Wind Talkers. But then he bounces back to Adaptation, Matchstick Men, National Treasure, and Lord of War, and Weatherman. Which
Lord of War I loved.
Yeah, like that's one of my favorite performances. But then he goes, you know what? I'm gonna go do Wicker Man, Ghost Rider next. But then I'm gonna make a huge hit with National Treasure. I'm going to do Knowing, which is good. I'm going to pop up in Bad Lieutenant. And then he sort of, like, and then he did Kick-Ass and he did Sorcerer's Apprentice, but that's when Season of No Blades, Drive Angry, Seeking Justice, Trespass, Stolen, Frozen Ground, Croods, and he crushed it in Joe, Rage, like, he did Rage, Outcast, Left Behind, Dying Light, The Runner, Pay the Ghost, The Trust, Dog Eat Dog, Snowden, USS Annapolis, Men of Courage, Army of One, he's not bad. He had this, and then he did Mom and Dad, which was, I don't know if you saw that, when all the mom and dads want to kill their kids. So it's Nick Cage trying to kill his children.
Yeah, I might watch that. It sounds like it's probably awful, but
it's by the guys who directed Crank.
Okay.
So get that in your mind. But then he did Mandy, and then he did Into the Spider-Verse, Color Out of Space, Primal, which isn't very great. But then he now has exploded. Like he just backed that up with what Willy's Wonderland, Pig, and the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. And I got a screener for his Western, so I'm excited to watch that. But,
nice.
Like he's had such a roller coaster, man. Like I feel like Nick Cage's career is Nick Cage, just gaudy, buys everything, goes through some lows, some highs. He's just been churning out work, but there's always talent. I don't know. Is that like what? What do you what do you think about like?
He's so hard to pin down. What you can guarantee is there's going to be some kind of manic energy in the performance at some point.
Yeah. Face Off.
Yeah. He's, did he change agents or something recently? I don't know. Now he's getting like, or maybe he's just kind of said it's like, all right, I've done the blockbuster thing. I want to go and do like some smaller projects which are like more character driven, potentially a little bit more fun.
And I think so too. I think he's paid off a lot of his debts. And so by appearing in movies like Running with the Devil, Kill Chain, Primal, Grand Isle, he'll make a mill for maybe 3-4 weeks of work.
Well, yeah, it's like Michael Caine's quote about Jaws: The Revenge. It's like,
yeah,
I've seen that. I haven't seen the movie, but I've seen the house that it built.
Exactly. So I think he's out of that now. But I mean, like, so in Prisoners of the Ghostland, he was in a movie with director Sion Sono. With Willy's Wonderland or Pig, this is a first-time filmmaker, and the guy was super cool. The writer, she's super cool, and they just went, hey, let's make a movie together. And he's like, well, I like you guys, so I'll just join your movie. Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Like, these directors had not done much before this. I mean, the producer had a lot, but Tom Gormican, he had written That Awkward Moment with Zac Efron. Kevin Etten, the producer, he had done a lot more. Like, he had done Scrubs, Workaholics, Ghosted, so he was established in the industry. But I think, he's using his power now to be in movies with Panos Cosmatos and Mandy, with Richard Stanley in Color Out of Space. Like, I think he just wants to be in interesting things. I think he's earned that.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Let him use his massive talent for good. Let's see some more like interesting. Like Pig is fantastic.
Oh gosh, what a movie!
I watched that. I think on your recommendation. I think I'd seen that you'd mention it, and I think I watched it on a plane or something. And I was like, oh, this is fantastic. And then this movie, Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent, I also watched on a plane, and I was disturbing the people around me because I kept like chuckling. People are like looking at me, like, what's this dude laughing at? It's like,
you have to though. Like Nick Cage smooches good, And just, how much is that? $6,000. I'll pay 20 for it. Like, it's just, and when he pops up as Sergio.
It looks nothing like me.
Oh, man. And just the LSD scene where they're laughing like idiots at those guys, and the wall climbing scene. It's just.
That scene is just like a perfect example of silliness just taken to the nth degree. It's just like, okay, this is just such a perfect concept, and it would be familiar to, you know, anyone who's tried psychedelics probably, where you're just like, you become laser focused on like one thing, and you don't see, you know, what's in your peripheral vision, for example.
and you're right. I like the word silly. It just, this movie gets so silly by the time Sergio comes around and just starts strutting through, and the cereal eating, and just him getting slapped with leaves. But it's also nice seeing Nick Cage kind of back in shape. Like, 'cause in this movie, he looks good. Like, he looks in shape. Like, he had a run there where he was pretty sweaty in a lot of movies. He was quite beefy. So it was nice to see him kind of coming through that end and appearing in this movie. And you know what's kind of crazy? This movie has a $30 million budget. That's ambitious for 2020. A meta film about Nick Cage in 2020 to give a $30 million budget.
In the height of COVID.
Yeah, that's why it costs so much, because you can't shoot as fast. So I bet you needed more days. You had to have like.
Well, they had a 5-month delay on it, didn't they? They had to like kind of pause shooting.
And so like all that stuff just makes, you know, because you already had everything paid for, and then you probably got to go back and get all the permits again. So yeah, I mean, I think this probably was such an expensive movie, probably because of COVID. I would have to say, because, but I mean, shooting in Budapest, I guess that saves you some money going to. A lot of movies go to Budapest. They use the same staircase scene when Haddish is killed, when Ike Barinholtz is shot as well. That's in Spy. Like, they use that set all the time. So yeah, I think they kind of maximize the locations, but people are dropping with COVID. The director was directing from an iPad.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out where that was. What I was looking, I was like, I swear I've been there. It like looks very familiar to me.
In Budapest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just a popular place to go and shoot. And I guess they kept the budget down by going overseas. But I think you just gotta move so slow with COVID. And if anybody gets sick, like, you probably have to shut down. But just $30 million to go have fun, to go make a meta movie with Nick Cage, with Pedro Pascal. It's kind of ballsy by Lionsgate, and they didn't really make their money back. This movie only made $29 million worldwide.
Yeah, it wouldn't. Well, again, COVID. People aren't going to theaters. I still don't think theaters have recovered.
Mm-mm.
It might pick up some back end, as a kind of streaming.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, Black Adam only made what, 200? That's probably a $400 million movie with COVID. Without COVID. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it came out earlier. Maybe it could have made 50, 60 mil, but I don't think they lost money on it. They probably are making money on DVD sales. I got the Target exclusive Blu-ray with the commentary on it that I got to listen to. But I know.
Did that have the deleted scene on it where he fights himself?
Yes, and the cabinet of the cabinet of Dr. Caligari. And it's really beautiful to look at. It's very sumptuously filmed, and I actually show my students that movie, and the ones who watch it love it, and then the ones who just don't even give it a chance hate it.
Why are you showing students 100-year-old German films?
Because of the walls and the sets and the paint and the performances. I like showing them that because I feel like you can show them a movie now, a Tim Burton movie now, and just show the references right then and there. Like just the gothic, the unreliable narrator, the looks of it, and then you can go show them like, the Babadook, or show them like just the design of the villain, or the shots, and like the unreliable narrator. So I can tie it into a lot of modern stuff. And also it's like an hour, and it's on Tubi for free, so my students have to pay money, and that makes them a lot more if it's on a streaming service, they never watch it. So I just put it on, and I'm like, just go watch this. But for the ones who pay attention, they really dig it with the sleeping. Like, it's pretty cool that they realize that filmmaking in the in the early 20s, 1920s, like the Germans took chances. And then it's kind of fun. And then I also cover like the French New Wave. I do Italian neorealism.
It comes back to something we talked about previously when we've been talking about like Bob Zemeckis, is like pushing the boundaries of what you can actually do
Yeah,
in a film.
that did it for sure. Like just making those crazy sets. And so, no, I just dug it. And so when he's talking about that and when Javi talks about that and they both love it and then they both love Paddington too, which I adore. Like it just had the biggest smile on my face. I started thinking about my three favorite movies. I don't think I have that.
I would struggle. There are so many that I really enjoy.
Like, I guess Doctor Strangelove.
I think Back to the Future would be one of mine.
Being There. I like the Peter Sellers doubleheader. I think Being There.
Interesting.
Being There. Have you seen Being There?
I don't think so.
Oh man, that's just Sellers at his best. It's like both of them are they're both sort of satires. They're both like kind of dark humor. They got a lot of like they're kind of both making fun of governments. This kind of cool movies. So yeah, those are my and then Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, I would. My creature feature would be Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah.
The first time seeing that on the big screen, like at age like 9 or 10 or whatever I was, like that was it. I was just like, okay, movies are amazing. They can do anything.
How many people our age fell in love with movies because of Jurassic Park?
Like it was the event. It was just like oh my God. Like it was our generation Star Wars basically. It was just like this like quantum leap forward in what was possible.
Wow. No, you're absolutely right. And the kind of cool thing is what Terminator 2 had come out recently, but I had seen it, but a lot of kids hadn't because it was R-rated. So by making Jurassic Park PG-13, I think it made it accessible to a lot of more young kids to go watch
Yeah,
it.
because I was too young to have seen T2 in the theaters. Like I saw it on like home video when I was a little bit, probably not too much older, but my dad was like, "We're watching this movie. It's great. You'll like it." I'm like, okay.
Adults love it. And then you can sell boatloads of dinosaurs. Just
I had loads of them. I had all the toys.
I mean, it's like making Toy Story. You make a movie called Toy Story. Like you're gonna sell so much merch. You sell cars. Like what a brilliant. Not only do you make a great movie, but you can sell merch for the next next 25 years. That like just 93. So almost 30 years.
Yeah. Oh wow. Need to do like a Jurassic Park 30th anniversary podcast next year.
All right, you want it?
Yeah, sure.
All right, that'll be easy to talk about. I have so much information about that movie, but I don't know. I guess I just love that. You know that the daughter in this movie is Kate Beckinsale and Martin Sheen's kid?
Yeah, she looks so like her. It's like you just kind of like there's certain looks that she gives, and she played Kate Beckinsale's daughter in one of the Underworld movies as well, or the young Kate Beckinsale, I think.
Yeah, and she's good. I liked her very droll approach in this. She was good.
Yeah, it's and I love Sharon Horgan like in general, like she's brilliant, but I didn't see how she could put up with his bullshit at all long enough to even get married to him. Never mind. Yeah, she's seriously no nonsense.
I mean, she met him though on Captain Corelli's Mandolin, which was in like 2000. So maybe he wasn't neurotic, older. Like he was like big money in 2001. Yeah, he was big money Cage at the time.
Yeah.
And so
she was a makeup artist. And perhaps she was starstruck a little bit.
Yeah, they got Cage just in full effect, and then he's churning out adaptation magic, and he's probably never around too. So the amount that he works, their fictional marriage, they probably saw each other every other week. So if that, like, so he was gone. So she probably didn't have to put up with him much. And then his career starts going down a little bit, and she's like, oh no, who is this guy? Super, his shamanic.
And then she has to put up with his like despair and his descent into doing absolutely rubbish movies.
And his nouveau shamanic acting about, you play
shamanic acting.
You place something inside your suit, to get into character. But I love that, man. Like he's got his style. Like the dude's just a wild man, and I absolutely love too how they came up with the character of Nicky. Like I love that. The other version of himself was based on his appearance on the talk show Wogan while promoting Wild at Heart. Have you seen that?
I haven't seen
the
interview. No.
Okay, so he comes on the stage, leather jacket, pants, and he just starts throwing spin kicks, throwing punches, Like, he is a ball of energy with a Wild at Heart shirt and just punching and kicking and just an absolute wild man. And that's who Nicky is in this movie, based on that appearance from that talk show.
And Wogan, he was always very deadpan.
Yeah.
He probably would have just raised an eyebrow and been like, oh, okay.
You should watch it. When we're done with this, watch that clip. It's pretty amazing. And also, too, before we get going, before we talk about this movie more, I got to know something. If you could have any 5 Nick Cage items from a movie, which 5, like, props would you want in your Nick Cage room? So I reached out to people on Twitter. Johnny Numb said the stethoscope from Bringing Out the Dead, the snakeskin jacket from Wild at Heart, and the Hawaiian Don Ho shirt from Snake Eyes. Norbert said he wants the balls from The Rock.
Yeah, that's a good one.
The Last Action Hero
Perfect pearl configuration.
Yeah, and The Last Action Hero said that they would make a badass doorway like those 70 beaded doorways, but green and dangerous instead. DJ Valentine said he wants the golden guns from Face Off. Mr. Blue Lou Boyle would do the battle axe from Mandy and the guns from Face Off. The Last Action Heroes want the long chainsaw from Mandy, which is amazing. And then let's see, Jason Rainey said the bee helmet, his costume from Raising Arizona, and the side mirror that breaks off Eleanor in Gone in 60 Seconds.
Oh, interesting.
Right?
That is a very obscure. So the one that came to mind for me is I want like an epoxy resin encased half-eaten peach.
Oh
From
gosh.
Face Off.
Yeah. Oh man. Do you like peaches? Oh man.
I could eat a peach brat.
Oh, all right. So you got that. You got the peach resin peach. What else you got?
So it was, what was the movie he was in with like Sarah Jessica Parker where he like got married in Vegas and like that
Honeymoon
ridiculous
in Vegas?
Elvis. Yeah. The wedding suit from that.
Ooh. Elvis?
Yeah.
Nice.
Which is very Nick Cage, given how big an Elvis fan he is. I would take, the sarin gas doll from The Rock, the really creepy.
Hi, I'm this. Also, listen to that episode. I don't know what number it is, but we did an episode about it, Niall and I, for The Rock.
I would go, I would like, I'm not going to take, I know what your number one is. I'm not going to take that away from you.
You take it. Go for it. You're going to say it. Do it. I can always pick something new.
The infamous bunny.
Oh, yeah.
From Con Air. You got to have the bunny.
Gotta have the bunny. I'm not putting that down.
And then probably the last one, I think you go the iconic, I would actually take the sunglasses from this movie, the Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. Those like kind of, are they like pinkish brown lens kind of sunglasses that he's wearing?
Oh yeah, like they're beautiful, aren't they? The red tip. Yeah, those are great. And that Hobby was wearing the Olympia 2s from Wild at Heart. They got him to custom make them for the movie.
Oh, nice.
So those are your 5. I got some more. MX Cat said he wants the bike from Ghost Rider. Dan Allen Sr. said he wants Castor Troy's clerical robes and a can of punch from Willy's Wonderland, and the exploding suit from Prisoners of Ghostland that infamously blow up Nicolas Cage's testicles, which are amazing. William Yu wants the helmet of bees from The Wicker Man. Billy B wants his suit from Snake Eyes. Lisa S wants John Travolta's face. Kieran wants the car from Drive Angry. Nathan wants Ghost Rider's leather jacket. And then Aaron Newworth from the Out Now with Aaron and Abe podcast released a doozy. He wants the Huggies from Raising Arizona. He wants the actual Declaration of Independence. He wants his costume from Wild at Heart. He wants Charlie Kaufman, the man. His wooden stake from Vampire's Kiss. His prop hand from Moonstruck. His face from Face Off and the guns. The bees. The green globes from The Rock. The dog cookie jar from Matchstick Men. Mandy Chainsaw, and he wants a truffle pig.
I would also quite like a truffle pig.
That'd be amazing.
That pig was special.
Oh, what a pig. I just know where to find him. I don't even need the pig. Jesse Deal just said he wants the bead chain of the virus from The Rock, which is amazing. And I put a lot of thought into this. Ryan G, though, had the winner. He said the pinball machine from Willy's Wonderland. But my 5, I stole this from Ryan G. It's the pinball machine from Willy's Wonderland. You could have an actual prop pinball machine from a Nick Cage movie. Gotta have that. I want the battle axe from Mandy, which is amazing. I want the bear suit from the Wicker Man.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I want a piece of wall. I want the piece of wall that fart was written on in Raising Arizona. Like, I want that cut out and put into a frame.
Interesting.
Where it just says fart. Like, I want to frame that in my house. And then since you took the bunny, I'm gonna pivot, and I'm gonna try to find something else that would just make me laugh from his filmography. That's so. I mean, I had the bunny too. Like, you gotta have the bunny. You gotta have the bunny. Let's see. But I am gonna take. Oh, man, I do like his glasses in this. He has a good jean jacket in Red Rock West. Wild at Heart. You know what? I'm gonna take the Wild at Heart sunglasses. I'm just gonna do that. Those are pretty great.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, I'm gonna do that. And we have a pretty sweet Nick Cage room.
Yeah, I think so. There's some more obscure references in there without there are a couple of the obvious ones, but a few kind of less obvious.
I'm kind of worried about the battle axe. I might just have to put like the rubber things around it so it doesn't cut anybody.
Well, just put like a do not touch sign on it because people obviously respect that.
Yeah. I can put it in a shadow box. The Nick Cage battle axe from Mandy. Oh, that's amazing. And I want that pinball machine. And maybe his Ringer t-shirt. Have you seen Willy's Wonderland?
No, not yet.
He fights animatronic demon puppet.
That sounds all kinds of ridiculous and awesome.
It's one of the weirdest movies you'll see, and it's just glorious. He says next to nothing, too. It's basically a Western. It's just like a Nick Cage badass gets trapped inside a Chuck E. Cheese. Did you have Chuck E. Cheese? Do you know what Chuck E. Cheese are?
I'm familiar through pop culture, but we didn't have it.
Got it. He goes into like a pizza joint that has puppets that sing and arcade rooms and ball pits and stuff like that. And he's forced to clean it, but then he also has to fight giant puppets.
Fight the animatronic robot things.
Yeah, while every few minutes drinking an energy drink. Because I don't know if he's diabetic or what, but he needs to keep his sugar up.
So it's like Crank, basically.
Yeah. Oh man, I would love to see. I like those Crank movies. I would like to cover those one day. I just don't like watching them because they're so dirty. Like, they're just the grimiest movies you could ever see, Crank 1 and 2.
I think I've only seen the first one. I don't think I've seen the second one.
Hey, so what are your favorite moments from this movie? Like, when you think about this film, what makes you smile the most?
So the one that's kind of coming to mind most is, towards the climax, where the president's daughter, she's just like sat there and she just sees Nick Cage. She's like, Nicolas Cage, that's fucking awesome.
She was cool. She had no screen time, but I liked her.
Yeah, she was just like, she kind of bookended the story. She was there in like the very beginning and she was there at the end. And both times she was just like, Nicolas Cage is fucking awesome.
Yeah, that's a brilliant scene. I love that. And I think I like when he wipes his head with that patch. Like,
that's pretty cool.
It's the silliest. There's an entire set piece around him just being dumb, and it makes me so happy. Like, I did not see that coming from there. Two more scenes. What other scenes do you love in this?
So another one, there are kind of several which I would kind of think are almost like Frasier-esque farces, where nobody kind of knows what the other one's thinking, and the audience kind of knows. It's like, oh, he thinks he's a spy and he doesn't know, but maybe he is a spy. I don't know. And then you have like this whole like interplay between Harvey and Nick is trying to play it cool, but also thinking this guy is like a crime lord. And then the other guy is just thinking Nick Cage is acting really weird. like when he's going into the vault for the first time, and he's like, where are you going? I'm going to show you something. Like, it's just, basically Pedro Pascal's delivery sells it. He just the way he sells the line is just so ominous. It's like, I'm going to show you what's in there. Promise you won't think less of me.
And then it's just props, beyond props. This is thorough. Oh, wow. Ah, what a scene. And then that piano. Oh, man, the piano scene. I can barely watch that when he plays at his daughter's birthday. When he just sits down, gather around, children. And you almost hate him. Like, that scene, he's just and then when he's talking for his daughter at counseling, he's such a bad dad. Oh, man, but when he starts singing, I rewatched it and I took notes on it. I listened to the commentary, but in the prep for this, I rewatched it again. I just fast forwarded through that. I was like, I can't handle this. I can't handle this piano scene because it's just so cringeworthy. Ugh. But I think my favorite moment is the shoes. Just movie.
That's an awesome scene.
It stops dead in its tracks. The movie stops just dead, and they swap shoes. And then there's a bit about it later about no ankle support.
Which shoes would you go for? You see, I've had my eye. I kind of want a pair of Gucci loafers, so I'm like looking at that and getting loafer envy and being like, ooh, I don't know if I get them in that color, but yeah, I do quite like them.
Are you saying buy or like if someone said, Mark, you can have some Vans or Gucci loafers?
So let's say you're getting them for free, but you choose.
Oh, Gucci loafers, man! Come on now, I would take those pair too and be like, these are the ones from Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent. I would crush those Gucci loafers.
Some dude was sat in a restaurant next to me the other day wearing a pair of those, I think in black, and I was just looking, I was like, ooh, there's some nice Gucci loafers. And he had like knee-high Gucci socks on as well, just like totally
Gucci
ridiculously
shorts.
overdressing it.
Yeah, Gucci shorts, Gucci shirt, Gucci wallet, Gucci visor. Please tell me he had all that.
No, but he was wearing nothing but designer kit.
Got it. I bought some Jaws Sperry's. I bought special edition Sperry's that are Jaws. I got 2 pairs of them.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm all. I wouldn't trade. No, I would keep those. If someone said Mark Jaws Sperry's or Gucci loafers, I'd do the Jaws Sperry's. That's me.
Well, it's good that you've got your line. He's like, okay, Vans, yeah, toss them away, give me the Gucci's. But, the Jaws shoes, that's the line.
Listen, man, I love shark movies. Like, you can't, just give me those. Let me have those. But, man, he doesn't talk about Jaws in this movie, which is kind of a bummer. And
why would he?
Well, favorite movies, greatest movies ever made.
True.
I like when he goes Face Off. Oh, thank you. But listen, I think Face Off is my favorite of the Cage prison trilogy because it's unfiltered John Woo. So he had made Broken Arrow before, he had made Hard Target, but on Hard Target, he had to deal with Jean-Claude Van Damme trying to re-edit the movie. And Sam Raimi fought for John Woo, which is an amazing story. If you ever get the Kino Lorber Hard Target 4K, there's some really cool behind the scenes stuff. But then he goes and makes Broken Arrow. It's fun, but it's not hard boiled, man. It's not The Killer. So you watch Face Off and just with the bonkers performances, the gunfights that play with like Somewhere Over the Rainbow and just the gun ballet and I did a commentary for it, and someone said that you feel weird during the action scenes because there's one scene where cops and a prisoner are being killed because Cage is trying to escape, and you feel bad for them. And then there's another scene where the villains are being killed by the cops, and then you feel bad for the villains. So there's emotions all over the place. Joan Allen's great. Yeah, Face Off is wonderful. So
yeah, Face Off is fantastic.
Right?
And it's got so many quotable lines as well. It's just like another one of those where it's like, I want to take his face off.
We'll never get a movie like that. We will get very few movies like Face Off because John Woo made 2 hits. John Travolta was coming off of like Phenomenon, Pulp Fiction, Michael. He was cashing checks. Nick Cage was cashing checks. And so I think they just, and they filmed the boat race first. The boat chase first. So
interesting.
So when the studio wanted to see dailies on the beginning of the film, they saw this badass boat chase and they're like, yeah, give us more. So they didn't start with any of the drama. They started so that eventually the people just left them alone because they loved the boat chase in the beginning, which is smart filmmaking.
I wonder is what they did with Unbearable Weight. It's like throw in the massive car chase, film that first, and then be like, here you go. Here are our dailies. Look at this awesome car chase.
There's some good stunts too. When that guy falls off,
got Nick Cage in a car chase,
punching people in the face. That stunt guy slid like on his butt for about 20 feet.
Yeah.
And I guess when they were filming it, I think they were in Budapest, or maybe they were in Croatia. I'm not quite sure where they were, but the stunt coordinator didn't speak much English, so they set up a gag where when they hit the brake, the guy flies off his bike, goes in the air, and then lands, like flies in the air about 20 feet, then lands on the thing. And then the director's like, "What's happening here?" But because they had like a mix-up. But I think what they have works better. It's fun.
Yeah.
But like, there's a gunfight in this movie where Nick Cage shoots his stupid face-off guns. running in loafers, complaining about ankle support. It's just, listen, man.
Have you
Like,
ever shot two guns at the same time while running?
ah, oh, just
Yeah,
it's
I think
silly.
you bring Hot Fuzz into it, and it's just like shooting two guns at the same time while running.
Just it's just this most beautiful silliness. It just makes me so happy, man. So hey, before we get out of here, aliens come to our planet. They come to you, and they're like, we've heard a lot of good things about Nicolas Cage. You need to give us 5 movies that encapsulate Nicolas Cage, and if we aren't happy, we're going to come back and destroy the world. The fate of existence is on your shoulders, Niall, and you have to pick 5 Nick Cage movies to satiate their Nick Cage crave. Which 5 movies do you send them away with?
Ooh, interesting. Okay, so
And this is on the
you,
spot. I did not give him time to prep for
you
this.
probably, let's say you go Leaving Las Vegas, probably.
Yeah, his Oscar-winning
Then
movie.
I think you gotta go for, I would go for The Rock because it's my favorite of the three, as you call them, the prison trilogy or whatever we're
The
calling it.
Beige Volvo trilogy. Because there's a
Yeah.
beige Volvo in all 3 of them.
I would then probably go. Oh, the one I would add is It Could Happen to You, because I really like that, and it's like a nice feel-good kind of different movie. Much more restrained.
All right, so you have 3 in the
Uh,
90s. You pick 3 almost back to back to back in the 90s. What else are you gonna do?
and then kind of skip the 2000s entirely, and then you go to the later movies. I would probably go with Pig and then this.
Oh, I like it. That's fun. I love.
Um, I think it shows like his range, without going too deep down the crazy rabbit hole of like, Wicker Man or some of his other more ridiculous roles.
I kind of want to do this now too. I'm gonna say Raising Arizona, Leaving Las Vegas, not Kiss of Death because he plays Little Junior Brown and he just wears tank tops. Leaving Las Vegas, and you got to do one of his action trilogies. So since I'm gonna do, I think, woo man, this is tough. I'll do Face Off, and then I'll give them a nice walloping of Adaptation because there's 2 cages in that, and then I'll give them Pig.
Oh, nice.
Can't go wrong.
Those are some solid lists.
We saved the world, Niall.
Yeah, for sure.
The
They'll be
world
coming
is
back
safe.
for more. And then they're just like, okay, whatever you do, don't watch The Wicker Man.
Yeah, and I want to tell you something really funny. There's a scene where Javi is talking to his cousin, who's actually a huge star in Spain. I don't know if you've looked him up, but Paco Leon, who plays Lucas, if you look up his IMDb, he's a writer, director, huge name, but he just loved Cage, so he came out and did this. But while they're talking, there's 2 horse heads on either end of them, and that's just a Godfather reference. So that wasn't an accident.
That's cool.
Yeah, right? And that was his audition. So the guy who played Lucas came in just eating cereal, and they sold him. And Nick Cage was watching him act, and he just went, "Who is this guy? I like him." Like he immediately took to him. But this dude's a writer, man. He churns out a ton of stuff, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, they got a great cast for this movie, and I'm just happy we talked about this. Thank you.
Yeah, it's so fun. Like, I went into it not knowing what to expect before I saw it, and I was so glad I hadn't read anything, heard anything about it. Like, it was just able to catch me completely by surprise, and I was able to enjoy it.
The world needs silly airplane movies, and this is a silly airplane movie.
And I watched it on a plane,
Yeah.
and it was very, very enjoyable.
And I'm not trying to be reductive either. I mean, you know, kind of stinks too is this movie works if you go see it with 300 people in a packed Nick Cage theater. Like, I guess if you go in an afternoon with 2 other people, it's gonna be fun, but you could probably watch it at home.
Yeah.
Call me crazy. So it's a perfect, and I'm not being reductive. It's a perfect airplane movie, and it's just a joy, and it's just silly, and it makes me happy.
If I see it on my next flight, I will probably watch it again.
You're gonna tap the person next to you and go, "Yo, movie Sons of Flicks,"
Um,
and then they're like, "I've already listened to it."
well, given that the person next to me will probably be my wife, she'd be like, "I hear you talking about this shit enough."
All right, man. Well, where can people find you before we get out of here?
I'm at El Nilo on pretty much everything.
Yeah, so look him up. See all his travels. He's always in the air somewhere. Cage from Firebirds would appreciate you, or Con Air would like you a lot. Always flying around. But hey, thank you so much for joining me, man.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
All right, so for me, Mark Hoffmeyer, for Niall Moore, this is Movies, Films, and Flicks. We'll see you next week.